This is Love, Sex, Food with Jigs and Prema.
So this is Love, Sex, Food, the start, the beginning, the first episode ever that's been in the planning for many, many months now. In fact, since about the second or third date that Jigs and I went on, Jigs said, we need to do a podcast because we have such a great, sexy conversation. So we set the intention. As two creatives, we've kind of zigged and zagged and had loads of different ideas. And in the end, we were like, screw it, let's do it. So we're here today on this very first episode, sort of unedited, uncensored, just saying it how it is. And we were thinking about what should we call the first episode, because our backgrounds are so different. And we decided to kind of start the podcast series by looking at our relationships and love and intimacy from the two different lenses we come from. We come from such different backgrounds. So today I'm going to be asking Jigs some questions around dating and his resilience around dating, particularly because he has, we think, kind of calculated, had around 500 days. I'm not actually totally sure, but it's in that ballpark, which is a lot of experience. That's a lot of resilience to be in the game for that long. So this is me talking to Jigs around his experience of dating. And it's not about failure in dating, how to reframe that 500 dates, how is that actually about resilience mindset and what it really takes to hold out for your special person and never settle. So, Jigs.
Thank you for that beautiful intro. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, a bit of background is that, I'm 47, always been a hopeless romantic since a very young age. I remember my first heartbreak was when I was close to about 13 years old. I sent a female student in the other school, in the girls' school, some roses on Valentine's Day when I was 13, and I read my piggy bank and I sent her this letter, and I was hoping that I'd meet her for, I don't know, a milkshake during half term, when in actual fact her brother rang me up and threatened to break my neck if I ever saw or spoke to his sister again. She in turn then went and married my best friend, and I was the best man at the wedding. That is my first heartbreak when I was 13 years old. So kind of, and then, I think my career and the things that I was in kind of didn't allow me to go down the traditional route of falling in love and getting married, because I think I put so much time and effort into zigging where other people were ultimately zagging. So I got into the restaurant business when I was super young. Also, let's throw like a little curveball into this. I wasn't able to speak till I was probably in my mid-20s. I had an awful stutter. Yeah, it was horrible. I couldn't pick up the telephone and say hello. So when other people were talking about, literally talking about what they wanted to do, all I wanted to do was really just figure out how I can speak. So women were not at the forefront of my agenda at all. So when I opened my restaurant very early on in my career, it was really just building my own confidence. And then I kind of got into that cliche restaurant lifestyle when I was early 20s, and I didn't want to, kind of be committed to anyone. I wanted to be a bit more, I wouldn't say mysterious, but a bit more, footloose and fancy free. And then kind of when internet dating kind of happened, I remember my first profile on Match.com. And also there was another one out there called My Single Best Friend or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And my friend Seema wrote a really beautiful post about me on that. And then that was it. And you name a dating app, and I probably bloody tried it. And then when I moved to New York when I was 30, it was kind of a reinvention of who I was. You know, I'd finally conquered my speech. I was more confident. No one knew me out there. So I was able to rebuild and restart. And I think this was also the era where I was a single British man with an accent in New York in hospitality. So I absolutely milked the shit out of it. So that's kind of been my dating escapades for about 27 years.
Wow.
So when you put 500 women in the context of 27 years, it's still a hell of a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
Exactly.
justifying it, but let's
You
just
don't
say
need to justify
no.
it. It just
But
is.
yeah, but I think deep down, for me, I've been an eternal optimist that I will find love. I will find romantic movie shit love. That's what I wanted. I wasn't willing to settle for anything less. And now I'm in the beautiful position of being interviewed by my person who I'm getting married to exactly a year to date that we met on our first date. So
Crazy, huh?
would you believe it?
Miracles happen.
God. You know, I mean, there was a stage where my mum thought I was gay or the gay. You know, I mean, I was being set up also in the Indian tradition of being introduced to your aunt's cousin brother's daughter, who you randomly, you know, call up on the phone and be like, "Hi, is this I don't know, Sheena?" And it's like, "Yeah, well, I was given your telephone number by my mum's sister's cousin, who she met at the wedding on Sunday. Have you been expecting my phone call?" I'm like, come on, if that isn't romance, I don't know what is. So yeah. So that's just a quick overview of it. But I think you've got some juicy questions for me,
I
haven't you?
have. I have got lots of juicy questions because it was when we first met, like, you know, it was a big difference between our worlds.
Yeah.
Me being married or being in a long-term relationship for 23 years. And then before that, kind of having serial boyfriends, never really dated ever. And then meeting you and thinking, wow, that is a lot of women dates. Like, is this guy a player?
Well,
Is he a player? That was that, you know, that of course that's going to a little bit go through your mind as a woman.
absolutely. But didn't your friends also say to you, that's a big red flag?
I have mentioned it to a few people
Yeah.
who have said that, but I think it really depends on your perspective because for me, I completely love you. And so every single one of those dates, every single one of those experiences has made you the man that you are. I'm completely head over heels in love with you. So I'm glad that you had all those dates and that you had all that experience because you are extremely good with women. You are. I mean, I think that's part of why you're so emotionally intelligent is because you spent so much time with women.
Yeah.
You are so good at reading me and my energy. And you are the go-to person always for your girlfriends when they are dating or on the, you know, what should I message back? Like, what should I do about this?
Absolutely. I'm like the go-to guy for relationship advice for my female friends. And as you know, there's a fair few of them. Some of them who I have been on dates
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I just want to quickly touch on this now, but I think we're going to go into depth more about this. But I never went into a date with the mindset of she could be the one. The only reason why is that I wanted to keep a real open mind and value the person that I was going on a date with. And the two qualities that I find truly attractive that then allows me to ask a woman on a date is, are they kind and are they playful? Right? Everything else is kind of irrelevant because I think it's very tough to know on a first date whether or not that person is your person. Saying that though, when I met you, it was it was pretty much up there. I think it took me one more date to realize that this is something absolutely special because I'd been on so many first dates. But our first date was incredible, not just from our connection, but also what we did. So I think it's really important for people to understand that as a man, um, I had the pleasure of meeting so many incredible women, some of which are still in my life, who are active friends of mine, who are actually coming to our wedding, who you've met,
Yeah.
um, because I truly value our friendship. And if you go into a mindset, or if you go in with a mindset of just meeting incredible people, then the chances of you ultimately being disappointed is far less.
Yeah, for sure. And I think from my point of view, yes, 500 women is a lot, but then if you've dated that much, you know what you're looking for. So therefore, you've had a lot of experience with different, like, women in different ways, like you say, first dates or longer relationships or whatever,
Yeah.
however that manifested. So then for me, I was like, well, if you've had 500 dates and you think I'm your person, you've got a good, you've got a good level of experience to know what you're looking for. It's not like we're first loves and you would always be thinking, wonder what that's like, that you've you've experienced a lot. So I don't think I ever felt like it was a red flag, but for sure some of my girlfriends were a bit like, okay. But also, when your vibe is totally respectful to women. You're always so present, and as I always say, like, you're super lovable. So I can see why women would have had an amazing time. But anyway, we digress. Let's get on to some juicy questions. So, first one I want to ask you is, what was the lowest point in your dating journey? And how did you find the strength to keep showing up?
I think the lowest point has to be heartbreak. What's that cliche saying? It's better to have loved and
And
lost
lost than
than
never have lost,
never
never
to have
loved
loved
before. Yeah.
before, right? And I think my lowest point was when I was really impressionable and vulnerable when I was younger. And I had my heart broken a lot. But it's interesting because I didn't have my heart broken by girlfriends all the time. I also had my heart broken by women that I fell in love with that I didn't even date. So what do you call that?
Unrequited love.
That's it. That's it. And because, I really wanted back then, I still want now, and and I've now actually found it with you. But, I was, God, I mean, kind of, if we're going to be completely truthful, I didn't even lose my virginity until I was a lot older because I wanted to lose my virginity to the woman that I was going to marry. Ended up losing it on a beach in Cancun, but that's because I just needed to get it over and done with. But I think that's another time, another place, another story. But I valued love and commitment and that person so much that I was willing to not sleep with anyone until I met that person because that's the level of commitment that I wanted. And maybe because I was so inclined for that I might have been too heavy in relationships. When you're 18, 19, people just want to be footloose and fancy free. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to marry this person. I mean, obviously didn't do it, but I think heartbreak for me was a real struggle at a really young age, which then turned me into someone who truly protected his heart
Yeah.
massively. I didn't let people in. So I kind of gamified dating
Mm.
because I loved the company of women. I still love the company of women because I find women far much more emotionally intelligent than most men. But if anyone got close to my heart, I would either self-sabotage or I would keep distance in between us and them, or myself and them. And I think heartbreak is something that you really need to spend time to overcome. learn from it, and then go back out there. Because it's, we kind of we had this conversation just the other day. Is like, why is it called heartbreak? Like, why is the heart, like, why is it the heart that emotionally has to break, that ultimately causes it, right? And you explained it really eloquently. So I think that for me, even though I experienced that at the age of 13, I experienced that at the age of 18, the age of 21, I never gave up. It took me longer to get over it, but I knew deep down that I wanted the movie rom-com love story that I wanted since I was a child.
Do you think you've got that now?
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
got to say that.
Yeah.
So when you look back at 500 first dates, what does resilience in dating actually mean to you?
Resilience is finding the silver lining in everything. It's not giving up. It's taking a break when you need to take a break, not being harsh on yourself. Also, keeping your expectations really realistic is really important. Where I'm not saying that the person I'm going on a date with isn't my person, but I'm also not saying that she's the woman I'm going to marry, because you don't know her and she doesn't know you. When it comes to dating, there are two parties involved. I could think that that woman is the woman that I want to marry, but if she doesn't feel the same way, well, it's not going anywhere, is it? So I think we ourselves sometimes can get overwhelmed or carried away with our emotions. So I think over time, what I've realized is that, so when I started going on dates, and I didn't make a big deal of it. I didn't, I did always have treated women with respect, always treated the date with the respect that that ultimately it needed. But there were times where I myself might not be kind of in the right mindset, whether it's due to work or it's due to other things there. And I think that's when you do have to take a break from it to kind of give yourself the best chance of success by being the right mindset. So resilience is knowing when to have a break. Just resilience is knowing that, not packing too much in a short period of time, because suddenly then you're like, I like her personality, I like this person's dress sense, I like that person's sense of humor, and you've met 3 women in the space of 3 days. How are you ever going to find the right woman for you when you want little bits of everyone else? And I think sadly in the world that we are right now, because the way that people date is that you're always thinking, is there something better out there? And that's a really tricky situation to be in. But I can say categorically, someone that sat here on the couch with you, is that you've got to believe that someone will come along in your life and you won't need to question that ever again.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
We
I
are,
mean,
we
yeah,
are, we are lucky. I mean, you know me, I get that. That's when you asked me to marry you, I didn't burst into tears. I was just,
I
yes,
did.
yes, 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 please, yes. But the what I often have a little cry or a little emotional release when I think about what could have happened if had said yes to chatting to you on that app initially and going to the hotel and meeting you. And that's what really gets me. So I'm like, wow, life is all about sliding doors. And yeah, I think when you to trust, to step outside that idea of like, I'm going to meet this person, they look like this, they do this job, and they're going to come to me in this way, and just allow yourself to live your best life and be open to anything that makes you feel excited. Like if you feel excited by a message or a word or a vibe or whatever, like just go with that. Just even if they might not be ticking like the practical
Yeah.
boxes, which you were doing those as well, but you're literally the language that you used in that first text to me was what made me open up a very old app that I hadn't used for God knows how long, like 3 months, and think, "Okay, this is a bit of a clickbait email, but I'm gonna have a look because of the language you used." But that language is very true to you. Um, and that's what it is. So it's those subtleties, I think. So let me ask you another question. So a lot of women say that dating can feel like a job interview or a chore. So how can they flip that into something more playful when it feels tough?
I think first and foremost, you've got to be kind to yourself. It's really important because going on a journey to find your soulmate is not easy. It's very different for women to men because women also have the added responsibility of children if they ultimately want it, right? Or want children. And I think women are not, men are particularly not intuitive, but the one thing that they are good at that scares the shit out of them is being able to kind of know when a woman is forcing a situation, as in she's desperate to find a husband, a partner, because she wants to have a family. And I think I can't ever comment on that because I've never been in those shoes and I could never imagine what it's like to be in those shoes. And for that reason alone, I think women need to give themselves some time to make sure that they are enjoying the dating, the art of dating. I think we can all be very probably checklisty, right? Does he do this? Does he do that? How much does he earn? Where does he live? Da 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 da. And what's crazy is that you've actually consciously or subconsciously made a decision in your head whether or not that man is right for you or not. Where in actual fact, what are you truly looking for in a partner? What are you looking for? For me, I said right at the beginning of two things: kindness and playfulness, right? Life's too serious to be boring. Life's too serious to be stressed about everything. My personality is those two are probably my own traits, right? That I am playful and I'm a kind person. So I want that to mirror back. And I think also, there's this whole shift right now of, talk of equality but yet women want a gentleman, they want chivalry, but they want equality. But yet does the man still pay for the date? And I think it's really fucking confusing. Is probably the honest answer here, is that you yourself need to know what are you valuing the most right now? What's more important to you? How much he earns? What job he does? Is he going to be a good father? Is he kind to you? Is he kind to his family? All these things are really, really important. But I think women, and I'm generalizing here, women can get very caught up on the basic stuff and not look a lot further into it. So my advice is, you know what? Take your time, enjoy the process. Also play with, if you expect, our first day was absolutely insane. And normally I'm the one who would, in conversation, right, would try and find out details about what you like. So for example, if you said, I've been wanting to go to the new art exhibition at the Tate Modern. Well, do you know what? I've listened. Now I have the perfect date for you and for us to go on. Try and avoid going to a bar getting drunk. I mean, yeah, I've done that. I've done that many a times before, but I was in a very different place to where I am now. So I think women should also be vocal about what they want. Women need to exercise their own rules and boundaries when it comes to it. You don't accept nothing less than what you truly deserve and you want. If it doesn't happen, don't go on the date. Don't waste your time. And I think loneliness can be exchanged for just filling your life with junk.
Yeah.
And in the dating world, you can just date for the sake of dating. And sometimes you just need to be still and alone, work on your own happiness, work on being really good with yourself. And I think where the change happened with me, from dating all this time to finally meeting my soulmate, was I spent some time just working on my own happiness without trying to find happiness from somebody else. And I think that inherently is the key to any puzzle, right? When you meet the right person, they will not only make you happy, you're already happy,
Yeah.
right? But if you're looking for someone to bring happiness into your life, then all that's going to happen is then you're going to cling on to them because you don't want them to leave you and take that happiness away from you.
Yeah, you're kind of outsourcing your happiness into
Right.
somebody else rather than self-generating it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the like this episode's not about me and my dating, but just to again show the contrast between where we've come from. So I had 3 years of not dating and what I call my version of celibacy, which was not having sex with anyone. And in that time, I got to know myself. I followed my passion. I followed the excitement, my bliss. I made so many girlfriends. I lived around the world. I just had the most incredible adventures. And like you said, at times, I wouldn't say I was lonely. At times, I felt a bit of frustration because I knew so much that I wanted to fall in love. And, I was very clear that I wanted to get married. I think that was just like on our second day,
Yeah.
actually. Second day into her house. You said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want to get married." Not knowing at all that you were maybe not so into commitment. But I thought, fuck it. This is what I want. This is honestly what I'm here for. So if you're going to recoil from me saying that, then this is not a thing. And that's quite ballsy to do that. But by that point, having spent so much time on myself, I literally had nothing to lose because I was fully in love with myself. So I was like, okay, great. Well, this would be great if it works out, but if it doesn't, I'm perfectly happy with where I'm at. And I think that's for another episode, like how do you cultivate that sense of self-love, especially when perhaps you have had no's, because no's hurt, let's face it.
Absolutely. And the problem with no's is that you then stop asking.
Yeah. Well, I don't. See, I think a full body no is as good as a full body yes. Because when you get a no, it frees you up to find your yes. And I think that what's interesting is that often we can play that when it's something to do with work or even friendships. But when it comes to love and romance, it kind of cuts the most, I think, to have no's in that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard sometimes to not take it personally.
Rejection's tough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely it's tough. But and then what happens is once you're rejected once, it kind of leaves a little mark on
Yeah.
your heart. And then if you go again later on and a scenario arises that's similar, then you could self-sabotage because I'd rather blow this up myself than for someone else to have the control and hurt me again. And that's where obviously emotional maturity really does come into play. And that's why you need time to heal and work on yourself and be happy. And I think that is very, 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 very important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've got loads of other questions, but we've been chatting for ages already. So I think I'll have to come back and talk about this some more. So yeah, so that's the first podcast done ever.
Done.
Ah, yay. Feels good, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, a lot of, look, we kind of came up with this because we have such juicy conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what ultimately reignited us getting this seed in the ground and us ultimately planting it was us being at that event a couple of weeks ago, and you know, me being in a room full of probably like 100 women,
Yeah.
and about 4 guys, and the amount of women that commented on our love and how amazing we were together, and then me telling a table what happened on our first date and people taking notes. I mean, it was kind of epic, but it just reinforced our love story.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if we can help just one person believe that
Believe
they
in love.
will find their
Yeah.
soulmate, never to give up, then I think it's a beautiful thing that we're doing here.
Totally. It's so worth it. Absolutely. That's it. It's a wrap on episode 1. So episode 2 coming up very soon.
Yeah. See you around for number 2.
Yeah, so let us know what you think. Give us a subscribe if you'd like to hear more of this. And you can also find us on Instagram at Love Sex Food. And we are planning some fun events very soon in the future. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for joining today.
Bye.
Bye.